Welcome to our channel. Today we'll explore the concepts of time and destiny from an entirely new perspective, one that reaches deeper into the very essence of existence. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for your support by liking this content and leaving a comment. If you haven't joined the Secret family yet, you can subscribe and accompany us on this journey. Because what we are about to discuss goes beyond conventional knowledge. It's filled with truths that not only challenge the mind but also stir the heart. Have you ever wondered, is time truly something that passes, or are we simply living through what has already been? Is destiny truly an unchangeable fate, or do we, through each choice, just reveal what was always there? Throughout this video, we will delve into these two great mysteries, time and destiny, through the lens of one of the greatest thinkers in Islamic philosophy, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi. However, this is not just a transmission of knowledge. Together, we'll begin to uncover the workings of a grand system that operates in the background of the life you are experiencing. You will realize that time is not a simple, linear path, and destiny is not a punishment, but a much higher state of awareness. According to Ibn Arabi, what we call the past is still present, and what we call the future has already occurred. In this infinite cycle, you are both the player and the spectator. Once you encounter this perspective, you can never look at anything the same way again. Something within you begins to shift. If you're here, you've likely already felt the call for this transformation. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you ready for a truth greater than what you think you are? If your answer is yes, let us lift the veil of time and step by step, uncover the secret behind destiny. Time is one of humanity's most familiar yet most mysterious concepts. In our daily lives, we measure it in minutes, hours, and days. Sometimes we chase it, sometimes we wish for it to stop. But according to Ibn Arabi, time is merely a reflection of a truth hidden behind the apparent. He doesn't view time as a fixed reality, but rather as a veil created by our limited perception. The only true reality is the present moment. The past is nothing more than a memory, and the future is simply a mental image. But the present moment holds within it both the past and the future, opening a gateway to eternity. Ibn Arabi pointedly expresses this, stating, "Time is the shadow of God's power." This means that time itself is not a reality, but merely the sequential unfolding of divine actions. From this perspective, what you call the past still exists in the divine knowledge, and what you think of as the future has already occurred in that same knowledge. You do not live time, you perceive it. Time is like a veil drawn over the truth, and when that veil is lifted, only reality remains. For this reason, Ibn Arabi explains that time, as we know it, is only a recording system for the material world. But in the realm of meaning, in the presence of the divine, time does not exist. There, eternity reigns. This is why it is said that God is always engaged in action, for with God, moments are not interconnected. Each moment is a unique act of creation. This insight takes us deeper still. When we truly grasp the secret of time, the truth of destiny begins to emerge as well. Once we understand time and destiny, we realize that life is not just a series of external events. Behind every event, there is an unseen order, a pattern that can be felt even though it may not be immediately visible. This order is not only supported by sacred texts but also by modern scientific experiments, particularly in the field of quantum physics. One experiment that resonates with Ibn Arabi's ideas is the famous double-slit experiment. Briefly, in this experiment, a particle, such as an electron, is sent toward a surface with two slits. When unobserved, the particles pass through both slits, behaving as waves, creating interference patterns. However, when observed, the particle passes through only one slit and behaves as a particle. This shows that the act of observation itself changes the outcome. Without observation, possibilities exist simultaneously. With observation, only one possibility manifests. This perfectly echoes Ibn Arabi's statement, "You do not live time, you perceive it." The double-slit experiment demonstrates that reality is shaped by how we observe it. Time is the same way. You perceive it as a straight line because your mind allows it. However, time is a sea of possibilities, and your awareness brings one possibility into reality, much like how a memory only becomes real when you notice it. According to Ibn Arabi, time is not simply something that passes, it is a conscious state that unfolds. He suggests that we are not subject to time, but rather, time shapes with us. Thus, time is not just a physical flow, but a spiritual awareness. The deeper your awareness, the more conscious your steps become within the divine framework of destiny. Returning to the double-slit experiment, the core idea is this: before a particle is observed, it exists in a state of potential. But when observed, that potential collapses into one singular reality. The same applies to human life. The future in divine knowledge holds all potentialities. But when you make a choice, one of those potentialities becomes real. Behind this choice is your will. Yet, this will operates within a divine system. Here, we understand that destiny and free will are not at odds. On the contrary, they are complementary pieces of a greater whole. According to Ibn Arabi, as a human walking through time, you are simultaneously in contact with the divine truth beyond time. This connection occurs through awareness. When an event occurs, you no longer live it as a mere external occurrence, but begin to uncover the divine message behind it. Time and destiny are no longer a system that controls you. Instead, they become the map of your inner journey. This is why Ibn Arabi places special importance on the concept of the present moment. According to him, the present holds traces of the past and seed of the future. And it is only when you truly exist in the present moment that you experience the divine manifestation. For in every moment, there is a new creation unfolding by the will of the divine. This creation is a divine touch that becomes evident in your consciousness. Therefore, time is not a mechanism operating outside of you, but your inner mirror, and destiny is merely a reflection of what you see in that mirror. As your understanding of the nature of time deepens, the concept of destiny ceases to be a mere fate. When you grasp time not as a straight line but as an infinite circle, the question of whether the events in your life are part of a pre-written script begins to take on a new meaning. Ibn Arabi offers a striking perspective here. In the divine knowledge, what has happened and what will happen are one. But this knowledge does not annul your choices, for the divine knowledge is beyond time. Your experience, however, is within time. To understand this distinction, let's use a mental metaphor. Imagine standing at the peak of a high mountain where you can see the long path winding through the valley below. The beginning, middle, and end of the path are all visible to you. However, the person walking that path can only see the next step. For the one observing from the peak, everything happens simultaneously, but for the one walking, time unfolds step by step. According to Ibn Arabi, God's knowledge is like the knowledge of the one standing at the peak, while a human being is the one walking the path. God knows everything, but this knowledge does not diminish human free will. This is similar to the Bloc universe theory in modern physics, which suggests that the universe, including the past, present, and future, exists as a single whole. Time may not flow as we perceive it. Instead, we might be experiencing different points of time as we pass through them. This view aligns closely with Ibn Arabi's understanding of beyond time. He believes that time is a veil created by God's power, and this veil can only be lifted through consciousness. This brings us to the question of destiny. If everything is already written, why do we live? Why do we suffer? Why do we strive? Ibn Arabi addresses these questions head-on. He states that destiny in the divine knowledge is the foreknowledge of what has already occurred. But this knowledge does not make your choices compulsory. Divine knowledge is not the cause of events, but rather events occur because God knows them. This distinction transforms submission to destiny from passivity into an awakening. To better understand, consider Ibn Arabi's example. A teacher who knows her students well can predict which student will struggle with a particular question. But this prediction does not determine the student's answer. The student answers the question with their own free will. The teacher's knowledge does not negate the student's freedom. Similarly, God knows His creation and the choices His creatures will make. But this knowledge does not cancel out the responsibility of the individual. Ibn Arabi draws a profound connection between God and the individual. The servant desires, and God desires as well. But the servant's desire unfolds through God's desire. At first glance, this might seem contradictory, but it is, in fact, a profound unity. The human will is real but limited, while God's will is limitless and encompasses everything in His knowledge. Therefore, destiny is not an imposition, but a level of consciousness. The state of consciousness you hold determines how you experience destiny. Your choices may appear to be free, but they carry you within the divine plan. This doesn't make you a puppet. On the contrary, it makes you a partner in wisdom. For you do not just walk toward what is written. You also begin to perceive the meaning within that written script. When you touch that meaning, destiny transforms from a chain into a ladder. With every choice, you rise higher. With every experience, you awaken more. For Ibn Arabi, submission to destiny is not an act of helplessness, but an act of understanding and wisdom. To submit to destiny means to accept what happens, not as mere fate, but as a lesson to be learned. When you receive the message of life, destiny no longer controls you. Instead, you transform within it. The relationship between destiny and consciousness in Ibn Arabi's system is not only philosophical, but also carries psychological depth. For him, destiny is not a forced fate, but a path that synchronizes with the individual's level of consciousness. One of the most important concepts here is how your perception of destiny is shaped by your intentions. The way you approach events determines how events approach you. This interaction creates a delicate balance between the divine knowledge and human will. Modern science touches upon this balance in its own language. In particular, quantum physics and studies of consciousness reveal striking parallels to Ibn Arabi's teachings. Experiments related to the brain show that the brain makes decisions milliseconds before we consciously realize it. So even though we think we are consciously deciding on an action, it may be that our subconscious mind has already made the decision. What does this mean? It doesn't negate free will. Rather, it shows that consciousness is rooted much deeper than our surface awareness. Ibn Arabi explains this depth through the concept of marifat, Gnosis. For him, true human will comes from the depths of the soul, and when this will is directed toward the divine truth, it flows in harmony with destiny. Otherwise, a person gets caught up in the illusions of the self and perceives destiny as merely a sequence of external events. This is why Ibn Arabi says that destiny is not a chain, but a realm of consciousness. As your level of consciousness rises, you begin to interpret the events of your life through a different lens. To illustrate this further, imagine that you are on a theater stage. The play has been written long ago. The actors know their roles, and the audience has taken their seats. Yet, the play is performed anew each night. The audience watches with fresh eyes, and the actors deepen their roles with each performance. This is how destiny works. It is written, yes, but how you perform it, the consciousness with which you live it, can change with each experience. And this change does not diminish your responsibility, it deepens it. According to Ibn Arabi, a person is both the player and the observer in this game. You do not just live through what happens to you. You also attain a state of awareness where you observe it. This state of observation opens new paths within destiny. For at every moment, you are faced with a choice, and these choices guide you along the paths already known to God's knowledge. However, this journey unfolds through your direction, not by force. Willpower plays a crucial role here. In Ibn Arabi's system, will is defined as limited but real. It is not passive but an active, conscious force that works within the divine plan. The will is a trust. Fulfilling this trust is both a worldly and spiritual responsibility. This is why the secret of destiny lies not only in what happens but in how it is experienced. The same event can give birth to different destinies and different levels of consciousness. What may seem like a catastrophe to one person could serve as a catalyst for awakening to another. The key lies not in the events themselves, but in the meaning attached to them, and this meaning shapes according to your awareness. While walking through time, it is possible to be equipped with a knowledge of timelessness. This awareness allows you to align with destiny without conflict, allowing you to progress in harmony. Thus, destiny becomes not a written text on paper, but an echo within your heart. It is not a fate, but a journey. And in every step you take, a piece of divine knowledge is revealed. When you begin to see time not as a straight line, but as a space expanding through consciousness, destiny also starts to take on a new form in your mind. For time is not just a movement that progresses through hours and calendars. Each moment is a divine invitation, carrying within it potentials that touch us. Similarly, destiny is not merely the events that happen to us, but a call to awareness that directs us through those events. Ibn Arabi explains this call through the concept of tajalli, the divine manifestation. Every moment is a new act of creation by the divine. This is not just a physical change, it is a transformation that occurs in consciousness. Whenever you truly remain in the present, you connect with the meaning that God has created for that moment. That's why, until you release the burden of the past and silence the fear of the future, it becomes difficult to hear the manifestation of this moment. The mind constantly carries the past and thinks of the future, but truth resides only in the present. Because only in the present does God speak to you. The past is merely an interpretation for you, and the future is just an expectation. But the present is the moment itself. And when you experience that moment with consciousness, you stop fighting destiny, and instead, you align with it. It is then that destiny begins to form within you, not outside of you. So, how does one live with this awareness? First and foremost, it is important to understand what surrender is not. Surrender is not passivity. It is not blindly accepting everything that happens to you without question. Surrender is living with the knowledge that behind every event, there is a meaning that seeks to touch you. This is not a passive acceptance. It is an active state of understanding. For everything that happens not just because it does, but because it wishes to establish a connection with you. Once you realize this connection, destiny ceases to be a chain. It transforms into a ladder, and you climb that ladder with awareness. This is not something that happens suddenly, but it begins with intention. Every moment you intend, it becomes an opportunity for God to approach you, and that approach transforms time itself. You begin to guide time instead of being its victim. You become a witness to the events, not a victim of them. You are no longer enslaved by destiny, but you become a traveler who has deciphered its code. Now, I have a small request from you. If this video is more than just an informational journey, but a call to awakening for you, write the following sentence in the comments. I'm now on the path of truth. For this sentence is not just an expression, but a quiet yet powerful sign of the journey you are on. And when you write this sentence, you will not only seal your own process, but you might also be the catalyst for another's awakening. At Sir Channel, we are not here just to talk, but to walk together. Every new comment, every new viewer, is a collective step taken toward truth. Perhaps you thought you came across this video by chance, but as Ibn Arabi would say, nothing is by chance. Everything happens exactly at the right moment. Perhaps this video was sent to help you transcend your own time, reconcile with destiny, and remember the truth within you. Remember, you are not merely living what has already occurred. As you live, you realize that everything is happening exactly as it should, in the place it needs to be, and that realization begins with your intention. And this is why we are here with every video, to multiply this intention and walk together on this journey. Perhaps one day, a comment you leave will invite another to this path, just as something changed within you today. Now, take a deep breath and know that you are no longer on the path of time. You are on the path of